So as of this recording, we don't yet know the winner of the 2020 presidential election, but unfortunately, we can now say with complete certainty that this is a country that is screwed whether Trump wins or loses for a long period of time. Now, I know some of you won't like this commentary. The votes have been cast. There's no more votes to cast. They need to be counted. Me saying this now won't change anything. Of course, if Joe Biden becomes president, the country is able to possibly start reorienting in the right direction. Joe Biden has paths to victory and Donald Trump has paths to victory. It would be huge for Joe Biden to become president. We can start to repair global relationships. We can start to be a little bit less of a global laughingstock. But almost 67 million people have already voted for Donald Trump. About 5 million more people have voted for Donald Trump this year than in 2016. Win or lose, that is a recipe for a destroyed country. We have to realize that when we see coronavirus, economy, race protests, these are the top issues, and Trump's not polling well in them, that doesn't mean that your average Trumpist actually connects their vote to what is happening in their state and says, oh, I will then not vote for Trump because I think he's not doing well on these issues. Pandemic running rampant in my state because our governor is buddy-buddy with Trump and they're ignoring guidelines and opening everything and having huge events so the virus spreads and hurts the economy. Yeah, I do disapprove of that, but vote for Joe Biden. No, but no way. I'm voting for Donald Trump. Again, win or lose, we have not 60 million, but 67 million Trumpists who live in this country who will continue to live here no matter who wins the presidential election. My dad has written recently in Spanish about how to understand Trumpists, because truly, how do you understand millions more votes for Trump in the midst of one of the worst performances in the world on the pandemic? It doesn't make sense if you are rational and thinking empirically. The answer, as my dad has written, is magical or mythical thinking among his supporters. Trump supporters see themselves as being at war against the left, against Democrats, against the media, against scientists, against atheists, against communists and Marxists and all of that stuff. They see themselves as at war. They also idealize violence and these ideas of courage and risk, taking things by force, imposing their opinions because they are better and because America is first, as they say. So when you understand the mindset, when you're at war, a normal way of interacting with the world and others evaporates, and you justify, as we've seen actual militaries justify all over the world, you justify absurd and immoral behavior in that situation. Lying is completely valid if you're at war. I mean, come on, guys, it's a war. Lies are no big deal. We're at war here. And so when they say things like the virus isn't that serious, we wonder, are they in denial? Do they not understand? No. They are accepting that, listen, old folks, immigrants stuck at the border with the virus, weak people with comorbidities, they're going to have to die. We are essentially culling the weak, and some of us will die as well. They know some of their people are also going to die, but it's worth it to win the war, which in their mind is we must support Trump and we must defend Trump at all costs, no matter what those costs are. And my dad wrote, it's just like the war approach of we're going to take some casualties, but it's worth it because we're going to win the war. It's not just wishful thinking, because wishful thinking is more individualistic. This is really a mythical thinking. It's a cultish thinking, which is really more of a group psychology element. It's more of a social force. And each Trump cultist sees themselves as individual agents recruited by the cause to push their values and talking points with any weapon they can. And those weapons include straight up lies, spreading fake news, going out without a mask, casting a vote for Trump, even if he screwed up the pandemic. They're in love with their traditional sort of fascistic authoritarian values. These are authoritarians. They are sort of fighting their Stalingrad against the abnormal, as they see it, the weak as they see it, and they believe, many of them, that God is on their side. Everything that seems despicable to other people who are involved in what should be a democratic process, it's different when they are already at war. They are operating under the logic of war. We are operating under the logic of anti-authoritarianism and democracy. So whether Biden wins or not, this problem I've outlined doesn't go away. And what we need to understand is that confronting what I just described with empiricism, argumentation, rationality, facts, it doesn't account for the reality that they are in a cultish, mythical, magical thinking space. They're thinking of the myth of this is a war. It will never reach them to say, but look at these facts. You understand the facts. So how do we interrupt it? I don't have any idea. Let's first figure out who won the presidency. This is not an election that should be this close. But again, because of these people, this election should be 99-1 in favor of Biden based on Trump's actions, based on Trump's authoritarianism. But that's not how his supporters even think about the world. The fact that people vote for Trump is in and of itself stunning. In a normal country, even with a sort of white nationalist, identitarian, hyper-nationalistic streak, someone like Trump wouldn't get more than, being generous, 30% of the vote, and it would probably be more in the teens. Here, Donald Trump got nearly 70 million votes, nearly 70 million votes. So I'm getting ahead of myself because I've said after the election, we will address the problem of Trumpism. First, let's figure out who the next president is going to be.